Springboks Rugby World Cup squad. How many of these guys are going to be playing Super Rugby next year? Thought we'll have a look at the team. I've tried to follow up on where these guys' contracts are at. Some of them are confirmed. Some of them are still kind of up in the air, but if you guys have any inside information, please do feel free to drop a comment with any updates. Like I said, I've gone through these guys one by one to see where they're going to be at, because obviously South Africa, having won the World Cup, should be on a bit of a high in terms of rugby participation and interest and whatnot. And we all know Super Rugby in South Africa has not been in the best place, at least in terms of attendance, for a while. But that's not unique to South Africa. Australia and New Zealand have also had similar problems. But yeah, I thought there's been a bit of talk about a South African exodus after the World Cup. Let's actually see how many of these guys could potentially be playing Super Rugby next year. So I'll go through the guys one by one, and then we'll have a look from the starting 15, from the matchday 23 and the final. How many of those guys are going to be around, and then of the total 33. Remember, it was a 31-man squad, but they had to call up a couple of injury replacements when Creel got injured, and who was the other one? It's gone from my brain. It was Nyakane, and it was a forward in the back. But yeah, first guy off the list is Scott Brits. He's 38 years old. All the talk about him is that he's going to retire. His contract, I think, was a one-year contract to play for the Bulls after he left England. So that contract has ended. I can't imagine him renewing it, but hey, you never know. So I won't rule him out as yet. It was interesting that with the World Cup on the horizon, you had the likes of Vermeulen and Brits coming back to South Africa. I think Kitsoff had come back a year before, but yeah, I haven't heard any news about Brits extending through. Malcolm Marx, for next year, you will not see him in Super Rugby as far as I'm aware. He's got a short-term contract with a Japanese club. I understand that he is coming back in 2021. So that's kind of good news that he gets a year off after the World Cup. And again, South Africa is not the only team which has a bit of an exodus after a World Cup. New Zealand's losing a raft of players as well, but perhaps not as many in number as South Africa. So yeah, Marx is one that's going to go. Mbonambi, as far as I'm aware, he's going to stay. I think the last update, there's several players in that bunch. The last I read that he was supposedly having signed but not confirmed. There's a few guys in that, but Mbonambi is one. Thomas Dutoy, I know he's had a short-term contract to go to Toulouse, and then he ended up getting called to the World Cup. I think his Sharks contract is done in 2019, but I couldn't find any information about where his next long-term move is, so I'm going to kind of leave him blank for the moment. Kitsoff alongside Mbonambi is one of those guys that I read that has signed on, but I couldn't find it confirmed. Vince Koch, he's not going to be playing in Super Rugby. He's with Saracens, and he's going to be there. I think his is a multi-year deal, maybe 2022. His contract goes through. Malherbe alongside Mbonambi and Kitsoff is another guy that I read apparently is either signed or all but signed, so we'll watch that space. Tendai Mtawira, the Beast, he's retired. I can't kind of blame that guy. I think he's still got one more game with the Barbars to go. But in terms of a Super Rugby career, he is done. Can't blame him for wanting to go out on a high, even if you might want to give Super Rugby one more shot. The Sharks are kind of in a bit of an overhaul mode. So, yeah, he is done with that. Trevor Nyakane, his Bulls contract I know goes through till 2019, but I couldn't find any updates as to what's happening with him next year. He's injured at the moment anyway, but I guess if any of you guys know what's the deal, do let me know. Lutiaka, he is going to the Premiership, so he is not going to be. I think he's signed with Sale Sharks for 3 years, so he's not going to be there, which is disappointing. Likewise, Evan Etzebeth, he's off to France, Toulon for 2 years, so you won't see him playing for the Stormers next year. Franco Mostert, he is already over in the Premiership at Gloucester. I'm not actually sure how long his contract is, but either way, he's not going to be there. And Achia Sneeman, man, that's all your locks. He is going to be over in Japan, but I think he's like Michael Marks in that they're hopeful to get him back for 2021. So, yeah, perhaps we will see him back in Super Rugby, just not next year. Peter Steph du Toit, what a magnificent another example, alongside Sia Kolisi actually for South African rugby. Again, kind of like Mbonambi, Kitsoff, and Malherba. These are the guys that I heard, or at least read, are sticking around, but couldn't find it confirmed on the dotted line. So we'll wait and see. I know Western Province has had their kind of issues with finances and whatnot. Flo, he is still at Bath. I think he signed a 1-year contract extension the end of last season, so he's not going anywhere. Kwaka Smith, he's in Japan for next year. Again, like Michael Marks, I think he's the guy they're hoping to have back after a season. Vermeulen is interesting because I initially read that he'd signed for 2 years for the Bulls, but I understand now that he is going back to Japan. So as far as I'm aware, he is gone from the Bulls setup. There has definitely been a bit of an exodus from that team. Faf de Klerk, he's going to return to the Premiership, so yeah, you won't see him in Super Rugby next year. Herschel Yankees, I couldn't find any information. So I believe he had a contract until 2019, but I actually couldn't even find that confirmed. So any news on him, do let me know. Cobus Reinach, he'll go back to the Premiership. His contract is still there. I have read, as I was looking him up, that there might be a French club interested in him, but certainly nothing about a return to South Africa. Out in Yankees, he is confirmed. He's staying with the Lions until 2021. So that's a little bit of a good news story, but the guy who started at 10 for the Springboks, Andre Pollard, he is off to France to play for Montpellier, so you won't see him back in the Bulls jersey anytime soon, even if Morné Steyn is coming back. Yeah, at 25, Pollard's kind of in the peak of his career, at least around about that time. Damien Willems, he was one of the injury call-ups alongside Thomas du Toit, as I mentioned. I read that he is apparently staying, and there was an article which mentioned him probably being the starting 10 under the new coach at the Stormers, John Dobson. So hopefully, because at 21 he is one of the future guys for South African rugby as well. Lucanio I found that he has a contract through till 2019, but I couldn't find any updates on that, so I will leave him kind of blank. Damien Deolende, he's off to Japan, and then once that short stint is over, he's off to Munster. That's what I read, so I won't see him back for the Stormers. Jesse Creel, off to Japan. Francois Steyn. I did read that I think he's still on contract in France, and then he's potentially going to come back to the Cheetahs. Either way, he's not going to be in Super Rugby. Although I did also read rumours about him potentially also going to Japan, so I guess we will see. Colby's got a long-term contract in France at Toulouse. Mapimpi, again, kind of like Herschel Yankees, I couldn't quite find any news. The last update on his contract I could find was when the Sharks actually signed him, so there was not any details about the end date of that contract. So if you guys do know, do let me know. Sibu Nkosi will be there. He's got a contract through till 2020 at the Sharks. Likewise, Warwick Halant. You will see him playing for the Bulls next year. He's got a contract also through till 2020. And Villy LaRue, I believe he's off to Japan. He's done in England. So, yeah, there's a fair few guys with a strike through their name there. So where does this leave us? At my count, again, correct me if I'm wrong because I only counted them up once, I believe that's a potential, and some of these guys, remember, are unconfirmed as far as I know. 6 of the 15 starters could play in Super Rugby next year. I think that's at most. For the match day 23 from the final, I believe the most is 8, and then of the 33, it's about 15 at my count. So again, feel free to do that maths again for me, but yeah, that's a fair chunk, man. What kind of impact do you guys think this has on Super Rugby? I mean, I know there's just basically financial reasons guys want to play abroad. They can get paid like double or triple maybe even more the same salary that they get to play the same game. So that is kind of a hard thing to turn down. The New Zealand guys do the same thing. They head abroad at certain points in their career. Usually it's the guys who either don't make the All Blacks or they're at the end of their All Blacks career, decide to kind of cash in. Some of them have been doing the short stint, like some of these guys here, like Michael Marks, Crocker Smith, Snayman, like these guys are doing. Some of the New Zealand guys have done that, short stint and then back. They do like a sabbatical, which they work out with New Zealand Rugby. But yeah, do you guys think this has much effect on Super Rugby next year? Because obviously it'd be nice to see a World Cup winning South African team backed up by a really strong contender in Super Rugby. But with the amount of guys leaving, like the Bulls look to be in a bit of trouble. I don't know. I mean, what kind of guys will be able to be called up? I'm not sure how far the depth goes. You guys who've watched the Curry Cup this season will also be in a better position to say. The Sharks, Stormers, Lions. I mean, it's all kind of been shuffling around for a while. But yeah, it is a fair few. As I said, you guys let me know how you think this will impact Super Rugby next year. Do you think we will still see a boost despite the fact that all these guys are going, or do you think the fact that you may not be able to go to your local ground and see some of the stars playing will affect that? Because I know the talk is here that when the All Blacks, in the lead up to something like a World Cup, rest players, that they say the attendance suffers because people want to see the top guys playing. But yeah, I don't know. You guys will have to let me know your thoughts on it. But yeah, I just thought it was an interesting look. As I said, if you do have any information on these guys as to where their contract status is up, do drop a comment, because I always read through those. And yeah, just generally, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.